Hello and thanks for joining us for another episode of Mid-American Gardener. I'm your host, Tanisha Spain, and joining me in the studio today are three of your faves who are here to answer your plant questions and show you some of the show and tells that they have brought in. So let's have them quickly introduce themselves and off we go. So Jen, we'll start with you.
I am Jennifer Nelson. You can find me a couple places online at groundedandgrowing.com and on campus teaching Hort 105 vegetable gardening. And today I brought my holiday cacti.
Oh, hold on. We have to introduce our other special guest.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Just jumping right into it.
That's all right, Chuck, go ahead.
Edit it out.
I'm Chuck Voigt, and I'm retired from several different departments at the University of Illinois, the last one being crop sciences. What I was doing was horticulture. Vegetable crops and herbs were my specialties, and I love everything in horticulture pretty much.
Okay. And last but not least.
I'm Martie Alagna, and I'm trying to retire from lots of things, but it doesn't seem to work so far. I'm retired from plant pathology at the U of I and grounds at the U of I and horticulture at the U of I, and they just wanted to share the wealth.
Wealth of knowledge.
So,
well, thank all three of you for coming. Really appreciate it. Okay, so let's jump in with your show and tells.
Okay,
Miss Nelson.
So I brought a couple different examples of holiday cacti. Sometimes this one is sold as a Christmas cactus, but it is actually a Thanksgiving cactus. And then this is actually a true Christmas cactus. And how do I know that that's the difference? One is by flowering time. This one, this bigger one, was in full flower right at the end of November. And you can tell it is a Thanksgiving cactus by the jaggedy edges on its leaf. You see how it's got these sort of like really sharp edges on it. Mm-hmm. And then the true Christmas cactus, if you look at the leaves, they're rounded. So this one's new. It's a new cutting that I bought recently. I was so excited to find it. It's not as common in the stores as the Thanksgiving cactus, and so it's not flowering this year. Probably maybe next year. But we can, big question that people ask all the time, and I think you got a question this week.
Yes, we sure did. Somebody wanting to know how do you get them to flower sometimes. This person had a particular cutting from an original plant that was 65 years old, and the cutting has never bloomed for this person, for Becky. She wants to know. Menopause. Hey, that explains it. That explains it.
I mean, come on.
But she says she's tried
65.
everything, fertilizer, and has never gotten it to bloom.
Well, I'll tell you what I do, and it's in the camp of thriving on neglect sort of plants.
My favorite.
Yes. There's all sorts of detailed things you can find where people talk about doing the so many hours of dark like a poinsettia, and that just seems like a lot of work to me. And so the best tip I ever got was from Diane Noland, who used to host this show. She said, leave it outside as long as possible. And so that's what I do. I put it out for the summer on a north-facing porch, give it lots of water and fertilizer, and it gets nice and big. This used to be really small. Leave it outside as long as possible. And the shorter days and the cool nights start to initiate some flower buds and make it the last thing you bring in. But don't do what I did. I used to have a 65-year-old Christmas cactus that we got as a wedding gift. And until one may have waited a little too long to bring it in, and it missed it by that much, and it bit the dust due to temperature. So that's why I was really excited to find this one, because I have no doubt I bought it down in Arthur. I'm sure it was propagated from some older plant. You can see on this one, it's got a few extra flower buds. Most of them are falling off because I think they just
I was going to ask about this. So I bought a Thanksgiving cactus, and it was full of buds, just full. And now they're all starting to drop off. They're not opening. So did I do something wrong? Did taking it out of the store? What changed?
Probably the taking it out of the store and the change is my best guess. This had a ton of flowers. Like, I have pictures. I should have sent you one, and I didn't think that far ahead. But it was covered in flowers. And so these were ones that were really just barely starting when I brought it in the house. And so my guess is that it's that change in location kind of made them abort their
I picked that one because it was loaded, and then they all shriveled up, except for a couple.
But I've
So-
had that happen before, so I'm not too disappointed because I did get a good show out of it. But
Okay, very nice. And also, I just want to say, I remember these because the leaves here look like Batman. So I always tell myself,
Oh,
Batman
Halloween.
loves Thanksgiving.
yes, okay.
Batman loves Thanksgiving.
I'm thinking
That's
like
how I
dressing
remember.
up for Halloween. But
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
right.
So if you're looking for a little way to remember the difference between the two, Batman loves Thanksgiving.
Yep. And in a few years, I
people
hope
who don't
this
watch
will be-
this, they have no idea
No.
what the
If you just tuned
amazing
in,
tips
you're
they get.
probably confused.
Incredible.
probably thinking, what's
Right,
wrong
and-
with these people?
And the trade will try to confuse you too, because for marketing purposes, they give them Christmas names to Thanksgiving cacti. So
Yeah, and
They
then to
always keep you guessing.
throw even another wrench in it, there's an Easter cactus too. So
Yeah.
you can get all crazy.
So wrong.
You also sometimes, since it's the day length that triggers this and cool nights, sometimes you can kind of catch that same pattern of daylight on the upswing towards the spring. So
Gotcha.
sometimes you'll get a few more blooms on the way to spring. So that's kind of nice.
Very nice. All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, Chuck, we are to you.
okay, well, knowing what a great bulb planter you are,
Yes.
I thought I would bring my bulb planters in today. This is the one I used at the vegetable research farm, usually to punch holes through black plastic and put in, several hundred sweet potatoes or 1,400 pepper plants or whatever. And as you can see, it's out of stamped steel, and you can kind of get it spreading open, especially in the hard, tight soils that we have here on campus. And so that's not quite ideal. This one I found, I don't even remember where. I think I got it at like an auction sale,
Yay.
because I have never known the original source. But it is wonderful. It's welded tight along the seam. It's much higher gauge material. It's adjustable for height,
Cool.
up
thanks,
to 6 inches.
Well,
So you don't even have to be thinking, now is that 5 inches or is that 6? Well, it's set for 6, and if you get it all the way down to the gauge, you've made it. So I have no idea if these are still made, but if you can find one either fresh from the factory or at somebody's garage sale or something, this is highly superior to this. But if you can't find this, this is highly superior to the little stubby hand one
Oh, yeah.
that you have to bend down and use. So
Work smarter, not harder.
that's right. And then I have a daffodil story,
Oh, go for it.
and it kind of relates to you
Oh, no.
and your proclivity for planning things eventually.
Chuck knows me.
My friend in Chillicothe, Illinois, was cleaning up around what used to be he had a small house. He was a book dealer. And he's kind of gone out of that. And he dug up this bed of daffodils that had been there for 10 or 12 years and just kind of overgrown, and the varieties all intermixed, and he dug them all up. And you've been to my place. Do I need more daffodils?
No.
Not really. But he said, oh, why don't you just take 50? And I said, well, okay. How bad can 50 be?
Proverbial drop in the bucket.
I get the box. I kind of let it sit. It gets to the weather forecast. We get to that, how we got pretty chilly there, kind of
Yes.
all of a sudden. Well, that last day before that, I said, well, today's the day. And so Don and I go out, and I punch holes, and we plant 50. And then they came in 2 bags, and then we start the other bag.
Oh, no.
And so I keep punching holes, and how many you got left? And so then we finally got them all in the ground, and there were 97, which,
Wow.
That sounds about right.
yeah, for a guy with a master's degree from the University of Illinois in plant biology, didn't count real well.
The math was just a little off.
Yeah, and there were some doubles. I could easily have gotten to 100.
Oh, wow.
I didn't break anything apart that was still together. And then I used like a little 3-prong cultivator things. I used that to close them up, because the the cores that flop out, it worked really well because it broke those up, and then I could kind of push it in from around the sides. And then I went back a while later after some of the cold spell because I was afraid that it was going to freeze down to them too soon. And we raked a bunch of leaves and put leaves over it to hopefully get them rooted in where they develop a lot more cold hardiness. So that's my
Oh my gosh.
do I need more daffodils story.
About 100 more to be exact.
Yeah, could easily, yeah.
Now we'll look forward to seeing those pictures then this spring when those babies are up and at 'em.
They were really, must have been really overgrown because I'm not sure how many of them are going to flower. They were not,
Gotcha.
Really small.
they were like starter sets.
Okay.
So we'll see.
We'll see what we get.
We'll see. The ones I planted 2 years ago, I think should be in good shape. Those I didn't need either, but they were on sale. It was double yellow and double pink, so.
You can't turn that down.
No.
All right, Miss Martie, you've got, let's see, we've had a couple of questions come in actually from people who have an amaryllis that has not rebloomed, or they're wondering if they can get it to bloom twice. So take us to Amaryllis School.
Okay. Thank you, by the way, for bringing in a show and tell
Hey.
I could borrow.
Do what I can.
I looked at my amaryllis and they were horrible. So I didn't bother. Okay, so amaryllis bloom. If they are not planted too deeply, I want you to be able to see that this is in soil. I'm just going to dig this up a little
go right
bit.
ahead.
But this also has some moss over the top. Okay, it's not planted in the moss, it's planted in potting soil. But here's can you see that where the neck starts into the bulb, and the bulb is probably missing maybe an inch just an inch of space on either side. People want to put these in a big pot, and I understand that because when they bloom, they get tall and top heavy and gangly, and it's easy for them to fall over, which they will frequently do given the opportunity. However, they need tight shoes. It's better for houseplants of practically any stripe to have a smaller pot than you think, because you're not planting them in the earth. You're planting them in an unreasonable facsimile of earth. And they need this controlled environment to be able to do what it needs to do. And too big of a pot holds too much moisture, and they just won't do well. They need a confined environment like that. So, a pot like that in clown shoes, it's too big. They can't do it. So, amaryllis also. I dug that down so you could see. Leave a third to even maybe a half of the bulb exposed above the soil level in the pot where you plant it, because they need that. They can thrive on remarkably little water, but they like air. They like good air circulation. These will bloom, frankly, on the table if you don't plant them.
Yeah,
Just any old way.
Yeah.
You go to the big box store
Sure.
or the grocery store where they have them,
Sure.
and if they're too long,
Yeah.
they come out the box, and you
Yeah.
can see this
And they're
poor
like, "Help,
etiolated
help me,
flower
help
stalk.
me." They have this little squirt. So I mean, there's like a spit's worth of dirt in there. They don't need soil to bloom. These will bloom with no soil. However, if you do want them to get them to bloom next year, it's a better idea to plant them in some dirt. So put them in some soil, leave at least a third or even half of the bulb exposed. Also, I would recommend a clay pot instead of plastic. Sorry.
That's all right.
Because clay is heavier, so it'll be able to counterbalance if you get some blooms. So this is going to bloom. I think we've got two on here. Here's this one's obviously, but this one here is also a bloom, and I think that
there's
one is
three.
too.
It's a three-timer.
I think that one is.
That's why I picked
I
it.
think Tanisha got her money's
I
worth.
picked the winner.
It'll be fabulous. Yeah. So
Now, after that first one, because clearly we've got one that's going to flower first,
Right.
do you remove dead stalks? Do you leave dead stalks?
when the flowers fade, usually there's 4 blossoms at the top of the stem. When the flowers fade, or as they fade, they'll do one at a time. I'll remove them, and when this stalk is done, I just cut it off as close as I can.
Okay.
It's done. It's not helping anything. It's not Green though it may be, it's now photosynthesizing and significantly.
Okay.
After the flowers will come long, strappy leaves. And like the Christmas cactus and Thanksgiving cactus, if you have a covered porch or a shady place where you can set the whole pot outside, that'd be great. Or northern exposure. People are like, well, isn't it cold? Isn't it too dark? No, no. The foot candles in the darkest spot in your yard are so much higher than any place inside your house without a grow light.
Okay.
So, yeah, they need the light exposure. They need being outside is really beneficial for them. You can bring it back in. Some people, now this is up for debate. Some people you let them grow, and then about July, I would put them someplace where they have to dry out. Let the leaves shrivel up and die. Turn the pot on its side to remind you not to water it, or put it in the garage, something. And then some people repot, some people don't repot. I've heard both ways. I think if repotting.
Let's take a survey.
Yeah,
What do you guys, do you,
Not every year.
okay? Chuck?
I've done it both ways.
me too. And it's like,
So
meh.
try for
Once in a
yourself.
while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. See, the bulb gets larger and larger. So if you really need a bigger pot, then repot it. But if you don't, meh. I mean, if it makes you feel better, you can take it out, change the soil, put it back in. Doesn't matter.
Does it need a dormant phase before it will bloom for you again?
Yes, after the, like I said, about July, mid-July, tip the pot over, put it in someplace dark and cool, like garage, down by the floor, and let it dry out, and then it'll go dormant. And then when you bring it back, don't let it freeze. They can't freeze. So
Okay.
if your garage freezes, bring it in before then.
Okay.
But then bring it in the house, put it in a sunny window, start watering it. You'll be amazed.
Excellent. Anything else anybody wants to add there on the Amaryllis care? Because I see them everywhere. When you talked about they don't need soil, we see the wax dipped ones. We see the beautifully decorated ones that sit on just like a nice little plank of wood. They really can survive anything.
They
but
really
that
can.
one, the ones that are dipped, the holiday ones, you eventually
peel that
Okay.
off
You
have
and
to have
pot it
soil,
up.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, I mean, you can't. It has to make roots and feed the bulb for the blossom next year.
For next
It just
year.
can't do blooming ad nauseum. It's got to have some help. So
Some help and some rest.
yeah,
And
corn chips,
the earlier
eggs.
you force them, the harder it is to get the foliage to do enough work. Because like if you could force one, say at Easter time or something, that's late enough that you can get them outside while those leaves are still ready to go. If you do one at Christmas, it's really hard if you don't have pretty ideal conditions somewhere, or we're spoiled if we have greenhouse
Yeah.
space at the University of Illinois, because you can really beef them up there.
Yep, you have greenhouse space, Tanisha. I don't have
I
greenhouse
do,
space.
but
knows people.
boy, it's at a
Yeah.
premium.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, as
I have a front window that faces
as
south.
they're happy for multiple years, they will start to divide and make offshoots. And
That's true. That's true.
Such a pretty flower, and
Oh,
it
they're
really
amazing.
helps this time of year too to have just something so lovely to look
So
at
dramatic.
inside.
I save mine till after Christmas to bring them out, because
Ooh.
after you put all the Christmas
yeah.
away,
You need a little
it's kind of
dopamine,
dull.
little
Yeah,
serotonin
you need
for
something
spring.
to watch.
There's
Well,
enough
you've got
glitz
that-
with
Yes,
Christmas
the
already.
exactly.
spring bulb thing
That's a
going
good-
on. It's like,
that's a good
oh, this
idea.
is blooming, and pretty soon the million daffodils will also be blooming.
There you go.
See, we're thinking ahead. All right, we've got a couple questions. We got about 10 minutes left. Let's see. Prince of Orange Plant. Angela sent this question in. She's got one of these, and she said she ended up staking it. Once she staked it up, it had explosive growth, but still got very floppy. And so she was just wondering if this is the normal growing pattern of this plant. Does it vine? What are some characteristics
Did
of?
she send a picture?
Yes, she
She
did.
did.
Yes. So
Okay.
there.
Oh, yes.
That's the growth that took off after she staked it. But just want to know how to set this plant up for success, because it's floppy.
It's a Prince of Orange philodendron, Jen and I assumed.
Yep.
And yes, it is. They have an amazing, really beautiful color. The name is from the color. The leaves are green, but they have an orangish cast, but then the stems are beautifully red and yellow. They look like rhubarb almost. They're really pretty.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yep.
remember, it's a philodendron, so it's gonna wind around. Like, people don't think of monstera as being a wandering plant, but they are.
It is, yeah.
It's actually a vine. It's just a huge vine. So I'm thinking you might want to consider putting like a moss pole in there or something, and something kind of tall. And if it's not in a heavy pot that can support that top heaviness, you might want to repot it. Not necessarily bigger, just a heavy. Make sure the base is heavy, because as it gets tall, it's gonna want to flop over.
Anything else to add
I'd
on
say
that one?
mine has done the same thing.
Okay.
And hers looks a lot better than mine. So
So you're not doing anything
you're not
wrong.
doing anything wrong.
Just maybe get it a little support, and
Yeah.
there you go.
You can also cut those, and
reroot.
you
Yeah,
can see where
philodendron
they'll.
roots really
A lot of
easy.
times they'll send air roots out, you know, and you can start them easily enough. I mean, put them back in the pot and try to fill it out more. I don't, you know, whatever you like, give it away. It's Christmas.
We do
Blow.
that.
Yes, we're back to Chuck with the tools.
All right.
Ooh,
What is
I don't
that?
think I've seen this before.
I know, isn't it neat?
Oh wow.
Planter?
You're familiar with a more modern version of this, if you've worked with Jack at all.
Yes.
It's a planter, either for like corn or for potatoes. You just jam it in the ground and then hit this. It opens it up,
That was not for
and
Earth.
then you pull it out.
see.
The ones
The
you
ones I had a
you use
spring,
are
had
spring
a-
loaded,
yeah,
and they also
so
have
modern.
a tube, so you can
Right.
It's
Not
a lot.
bending
It's
down, no
a lot
aiming.
less aiming or bending and working on this. This has an extension story too.
Oh.
Was a tour you took a pass on. We went to Iowa and up into Minnesota.
Oh, I don't think I got to do this one. Yes. What were you doing?
We visited a whole bunch of places. We went to Seed Savers. We went
okay.
to Bailey Nursery in St. Paul, and then we came back. We stayed in Mauston, Wisconsin, and Sandy Mason and Martha Smith were with me
Okay.
in the vehicle. Jim Schuster.
How could you miss this?
Jim Schuster.
I don't know.
Jim Schuster.
I don't know why I
what
wasn't
she was
there.
doing.
I would have.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
don't know. So-
who knows?
Yeah. So anyway, we stayed there in Mauston, got up, going to drive all the way back down here, and they wanted to stop somewhere in Antique. And being a softie, I said, "Well,
Voila.
fine. We'll go to Linden Station. There's lots of things there." And we went in there. We're walking around in the antique store, and I spy this, and it's like, I think that needs to come home with me. And as I recall, that might have been the only thing any of us bought.
See?
So the people who wanted to go antiquing
Didn't find anything.
just did a lot of looking, and I actually found.
Do you still use this?
I've never used it.
Can you turn it sideways so they can say, okay, so you jam it in the ground, you put your little toe on there,
And then lean back?
and then you lean this back, and it goes, and then you drop a tater in there. Or whatever it is you're-
Maybe scuff your foot over the hole a little bit to make sure it's
Very
closed.
nice.
Sure.
You got to get the shuffle
That's
going.
a cool find.
Ta-da.
As with the other one,
Yes.
you get a rhythm.
And it's like riding a bike. If I did it again,
Yeah.
I would just lapse right back into the
Right,
shuffle.
and
I'm going to say you have a child with a bucket full of starts, and when you go, drop it in there,
Yes.
drop it in there.
Somebody
It's almost lunchtime, let's go.
sprout up.
Go.
And, yeah.
Very cool.
So anyway, that's a combination extension and whatever story.
Thank you
I'm gonna
very
bend
much.
over.
We've got 3 minutes. I want to get one more question in. There's a woman named Jane. She wanted to know if it was okay to treat her herbs with neem and then bring them in and cook with them. She's dealing with fungus gnats. So to control the fungus gnats and be able to use the herbs, what advice do you all have for her?
Read the label on the neem.
Okay?
There should be a post-harvest interval.
Okay.
And if that post-harvest interval is longer than you want to wait to use the herbs, then don't use the neem.
Okay. Now, if you don't use the neem, what can you do just habit-wise, watering-wise at home to cut down on the
Drier.
fungus
Drier.
gnats?
Yeah,
Drier.
definitely drier.
Let them dry out.
Yeah. Most houseplants do better on the dry side or being drenched once, so every 2 weeks or something like that, depending on the size of the pot. You could do that pretty handily. I don't know how big a pot we're talking about and what she's got, but most herbs are pretty drought tolerant. I mean, except for maybe basil,
Okay.
but the rest of them, gosh, they can dry.
She
pretty
did mention
dry.
basil, rosemary, thyme, and etc.
Rosemary and thyme and oregano, they're They're
I've heard of
wiry.
people using peroxide to control fungus gnats. Is that something anyone would?
If you just let
Just
the
let
soil
them
dry,
Start
dry.
with just
they'll
drying
leave.
them
Okay.
out
They
first.
only want moisture. So
Okay.
if it's not moist, they'll.
And they're not going to want it.
That's right.
All right, we have a minute and a half. Let's end with a snack. Because I learned this in kindergarten. Compliments of Donna. Now, what are we eating, Chuck? What do we got here? You
Oh,
said
it's
chocolate something or other?
Chocolate mixed up with something
She's
or
always in
other.
the kitchen, and she's always sending us things, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hot diggity dog. You bet.
Yeah.
You don't have to
And
ask
as
me
always,
twice.
it's delicious.
Oh, these are.
It's decadent.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh my gosh, we have a cookie
like-
crust with some little cookie on top.
Yeah,
I don't know
something
if you're zooming in on this or
fudge-like
not, but
almost on top.
Well, thank you guys for coming in and bringing your things. Thank you so much for watching.
Oh,
if
these
you've
are
got
amazing.
questions for us, send them in to yourgarden@gmail.com.
It's
Or you can
caramel.
look us up on socials. Just search for Mid-American Gardener.
Oh,
and we
Donna.
will see you next time. Good night.